So many times I hear people say, my work will speak for itself. I don't need to talk about what I'm doing. My work will be visible enough if I'm good enough. And people are going to see what I'm doing and they're going to recognize me. Whilst this is valid, and it does make sense, because if you really are punching above your weight, people are going to see you. The challenge is, in the world that we live in, and the corporate jungle that many of us work in, it takes a long time for your work to start speaking for itself. Actually, work doesn't speak. It doesn't. People do. And until you understand that, and understand that many people that rise to the top in organizations are actively self-promoting and actively trying to bring visibility to the work that they do, then you'll start to make a difference. So what is self-promotion? What does it mean? I learned this very early in my career from one of my coaches who said, you must learn the art of self-promoting, and you must self-promote in 3 ways. 1, verbally. And verbally means every opportunity you get in meetings, at gatherings, to talk about your work. Don't hesitate to stand up and talk about what you're doing. And also around that, it's also about networking, meeting with people and having conversations about the work that you're doing and sharing it with others. That way you bring visibility to your work and people start to see better what you're doing. There are also non-verbal ways of self-promoting, and this is so common. I don't know if you've seen it, but when you go to events, a lot of people always sit in the back. For whatever reason, people choose to sit in the back and they believe that somebody else deserves to be sitting in the front and not me. And this position has not been set aside for me. But when you understand the concept of self-promoting, you always sit in the front. You always sit in the front unless somebody relegates you to go and sit in the back, because you deserve a spot in the front. And that's a non-verbal way of self-promoting. Another non-verbal way to self-promote is to celebrate yourself and your successes. Our managers are busy. They're too busy watching their backs, trying to build their own careers, to be looking back to see all their subordinates' work and what they're doing and celebrating them. But when you master the art of celebrating yourself, as soon as people see you popping a champagne, they're going to ask you, what are you celebrating? What is all of this about? And in that moment, you have an opportunity to talk about your successes, to talk about what you're winning in, and to talk about the fact that you believe this is a big achievement for yourself, even if other people might not see it as that. And in that way, you're self-promoting. Another way to self-promote non-verbally, it really centers around how you look. I've heard people say, oh, you don't really need to dress professionally. I mean, people like, the guy who owns Virgin Atlantic, for example, don't really dress professionally. They show up in t-shirts and shorts. And so, anybody can just do that and still do business. I'm sorry. Those guys have earned the rights to dress like that. You and I, who are still trying to rise to the top, still must first look the part before we can be the part. And so dressing professionally and dressing confidently can help you and elevate you in terms of self-promotion. And then finally, of course, written self-promotion. And that speaks to what extent you're writing stories about the work that you do, updating your LinkedIn profile and sharing your professional journey on there, writing personal blogs that really support the work that you're doing or showcase the work that you're doing. All of that can bring your work into visibility and make you stand out amongst your peers. Trust me, the reason why your peers are going above you may not necessarily be because you're not doing as well or you're not working as hard. Check yourself. You may not be self-promoting enough.